I filed for divorce, thinking my husband, who was struggling financially, didn't offer much, but my world turned upside down when, on a business trip, my husband suddenly told me not only that he wanted a divorce, but that he was also marrying his girlfriend. To make it worse, he accused me of marrying him only for his money and demanded that I give up all claims to our property. When I confronted my husband, who had always treated me badly, it caused him to spiral out of control. I'm Rachel, 35 years old, and I grew up with my mom after my dad passed away when I was in kindergarten. We weren't rich, but we were happy as a family of two. As an adult, I earned a good salary but still held on to the frugal habits I learned as a child. I married Tom, a wealthy man I met through a friend, because I liked his kindness and the new lifestyle he offered me. After we got married, we started to clash over money and gender roles. Tom wanted a traditional home life where I stayed at home, but I wanted to keep working and stay financially independent. Before we got married, he suggested I become a full-time homemaker, assuming I would want that, but I made it clear that I wanted to continue working at least until we had kids, explaining it would help us financially. Although I convinced him, managing both work and housework turned out to be really hard. Despite working full-time, I ended up doing all the household chores, leaving no time for us as a couple. Meanwhile, Tom played the traditional role of the husband, contributing nothing at home. While he saw how busy I was, he just ate dinner and relaxed when he came home. Trying to balance work and home life took a toll on our relationship, and I started to wonder if this was really what marriage was about. Even though I felt unhappy, I was scared to speak up, worried that Tom would tell me to quit my job. Despite his lack of help at home, I thought that having kids might improve things, but our relationship was growing more distant, and I wasn't sure I even wanted children anymore. Eventually, I decided to talk to Tom about it. Hey, we should start thinking about having kids. Huh? Kids? Are you serious, considering how tired you are from work and all the housework? It's not about being tired. I want kids. We haven't been married that long, but I'm already over 30. It's harder to get pregnant the older I get. Time is running out. We don't need kids. If we have one, you'll want me to help, right? You know I'm busy with work and won't help with raising the child. Why are you saying you won't help even before the kids are born? I plan to raise them on my own. Don't you at least think you should help? They're your kids too. Raising kids is your job. I'm working to support us, so I won't help with them. You'll just complain about it and make me the bad guy. You've probably been raised in a poor family with lots of kids. We're not poor, so we don't need children. End of discussion. Tom quickly ended the conversation and went to his room. I sat in the living room, tears filling my eyes. Not only was my desire for children rejected, but he also made fun of my upbringing. After that, things between us got much worse. We stopped talking, and the idea of having children felt farther away. As I continued juggling work and chores, I became more distant from Tom. One day, when I told him I had a business trip coming up, his unexpected kindness surprised me. He wished me well and promised a big surprise when I returned. Despite everything, his smile made me think maybe things could change, but when I came back, I couldn't open the front door. Tom's first surprise was that he'd changed the locks. The second surprise was that he announced our divorce. He told me he had forged my signature and submitted the divorce papers with a friend as a witness. Inside, he handed me a paper for me to sign, giving up my rights to any property. I argued that we should both give up property rights, but Tom refused and made me sign his version of the papers. He even scorned me for being poor and threatened to throw out my things. A few days later, Tom called me, clearly panicked. What's going on? I haven't done anything. Why are you so worried? I have a lot of questions. First, I was told I had to leave the apartment. Wait, you're still living there? You can't. It's a new month, and you're trespassing. Trespassing? But it's my house. Did you forget that the apartment was rented through my company? I was the one on the lease, so you can't stay there anymore. Are you serious? How could you do this? I can't believe you didn't know. I'm not the one who should be blamed here. Didn't I tell you that you can't just change the locks on a rental? It's my house. I can change the locks if I want. Didn't you listen? I was the one who rented it. Even if you were the leaseholder, the apartment manager owns the building. You can't just change the locks without telling them. Is that so? Well, I ended the lease while you changed the locks. I was allowed to stay until this month, but now you've damaged someone else's property, and that could be considered criminal damage. Wait, why did you end the lease early? Criminal damage? Is that why the police are at the front door now? I'm too scared to open it. I calmly replied. So, the police did come. Don't worry, it's probably not for trespassing or criminal damage. It's better to just talk to them. Why do you know about the police? Because I reported you for filing the divorce papers yourself. It looks like you've committed crimes like forgery and using a false document. Divorce papers can be filed by one person, but only with both signatures. Since you forged my signature and the witness, it's obvious it's a crime. but he didn't seem to realize he'd done anything wrong. I pressed further. So those divorce papers you filed are invalid, and your marriage to Emily can't happen either. How do you know about Emily? Did you think I didn't know? I hired a private detective to look into your affair with her. It was hard to coordinate with the detective while I was busy at work. Plus, you even held a big wedding ceremony while I was away on business. Wait, your business trip was a lie? Yes, I took leave from work, even though I was busy, to do some research and prepare documents. I knew about you bringing Emily home. It would have been impossible to gather all this evidence while working. After I told him everything, Tom was silent and sounded down, even over the phone. Then he begged me. Please don't tell Emily that I'm divorced. Why would I? There's no divorce to talk about. Really? Thank you. But wait, are you misunderstanding something? When did we get divorced? That fake divorce paper is invalid, remember? So legally, you're still my wife, we're not divorced. What? So, since you cheated, well, legally, you're still my husband, and Emily needs to pay for what she did. I sent her a demand for compensation yesterday by express delivery. She didn't know you were married, right? Well, I can't take back the claim now. I knew Emily thought Tom was single, but I purposely sent the compensation letter anyway. She hasn't reached out to me yet, so maybe she hasn't received the letter. It should arrive soon. Shouldn't you be talking to the police? You've got enough going on. I'll just ignore the police. I'm not going to be arrested. I'm going to Emily's house now to get the letter back before she or her family can accept it. He hung up. I figured he was heading straight to Emily's house to wait for the mailman. I knew it would be tough because the letter was sent as registered mail and was only for Emily. Even if he waited, he wouldn't be able to receive it. A few hours later, a defeated Tom called me. He told me something happened when the mailman arrived. Finally, I'll take that envelope. Who are you? You don't live here, right? I'm practically a resident here since I'm married. I have the right to take the mail. I see, but I can't give you this envelope. It's registered mail for Emily only. What? Give it to me. No way. If you're in such a hurry, ask Emily for permission. What's going on here? Oh, Tom, what's all this noise? What's happening? Emily, this is registered mail for you. This man insisted on taking it. Sorry for the trouble, I'll be on my way now. What's this? A demand for reparation? Tom, you were married? What's going on here? Sorry, it's just, she's my ex-wife from a long time ago. I was too embarrassed to admit I'm divorced. I'm sorry for keeping it a secret, but it's strange, right? We haven't been dating for long, and now there's a demand for reparation. If I was divorced before we started dating, there shouldn't be a problem, right? Well, my ex-wife is crazy. Maybe she's just doing this because I remarried. That was his excuse, but it didn't take long for the lie to fall apart. The envelope included a letter I wrote, along with my contact information. So, Emily called me directly. In that call, I told her about the affair, the invalid divorce, and that Tom and I had a wedding ceremony while still married. Even though they had a ceremony, they hadn't submitted the marriage registration yet. Tom had planned to submit it on April Fool's Day, but it was still on hold. He probably delayed it because he wasn't sure if the divorce was final. After everything came out, Tom fled from Emily's house and shamelessly contacted me again. I still had something to say, so we agreed to meet at a nearby cafe. As soon as I arrived, Tom said, "Rachel, please withdraw the reparation claim. Let's pretend we've been separated for a long time and are officially divorced now. I'll apologize to Emily for being secretly divorced, and we can cover it up. You think I want to stay married to you? I was going to divorce you anyway, but now that you cheated, you're going to pay for it. You're just trying to extort money from me, huh? Typical of someone from a poor background. You have such a poor heart. You're talking nonsense. Depending on my answer, everything can change. There's still a chance we don't divorce. If I say no, you can't reject it. You won't be able to marry Emily, and your marital status will be exposed. Fine, I'll pay the reparation. Just divorce me now. Sign here, then. Wait, what about property division? Property division? How much more do you want to take from me? The reparation should be enough. Remember, we agreed to waive property division, right? So let's make it official. Alright, you're not as bad as I thought, thanks. We went to a public notary, made a public document for the reparation and property division, and then went to City Hall to submit the divorce papers, finalizing our divorce. Relieved, I exchanged final words with Tom. Glad we don't have to divide property. What are you talking about? I'm the one who benefits from that. By the way, do you even have any assets? After paying me reparation, Emily will also want damages. She even said she might charge you for the wedding expenses. That's impossible. I'm marrying Emily. She can't claim that. We're divorced now, so it should be fine. Still living in a fantasy? You committed marriage fraud. You had a wedding while still married. Do you think Emily still believes you? Marriage fraud? That's ridiculous. Emily will believe me. Believe what you want. I've already heard from Emily directly. Also, weren't the guests at your wedding fake actors? You still owe them. You know about that? I haven't paid them yet. What does it matter to you? You could have just taken property division and been better off. That's what I wanted to tell you. Even if we had divided property, you would have benefited more. What are you talking about, poor woman? Your family is poor, and you only make $155,000 a year, right? Even if you got a raise, it would be barely $20,000. You don't have any property. You keep calling me poor, so I thought you might be mistaken. Yes, my salary is indeed $115,000, but you know I work for a foreign company, right? It seems you have no interest in me, but I became a director of the American branch. It's not $115,000 per year, but per month, $155,000 a month. So that's an annual income of $8 million. You're still bad with numbers. How do you manage to keep a job? It's $180,000 a year. $180,000? That can't be true. Of course, I haven't spent much of that money yet, so I've been saving it for the future. The savings from before our marriage aren't part of the property division, but there's still a good amount since we've been married. I could have received half of that in the division. You were my ex, after all. I'll get the divorce papers corrected. Are you okay with that? After everything, you think I'll happily undo the divorce? If you have that much money, you don't need to claim reparation. It's just a small amount for you. He who laughs at 1 cent will weep for 1 cent. This reparation is for the mental anguish you caused me. Honestly, I'd like to claim more, and now that it's official, you'll have to pay it, even in installments. I'll be penniless, and don't go back to the apartment. Your belongings should be at your parents' house by now. You thought I had little stuff, but that was because I already moved most of it. Were you that indifferent to me? I can't have so little. I have to go back to my parents' house now? They don't know anything, do they? Let me explain. Don't say anything. I've already told them everything. It's only right to explain why we're divorcing. Oh, and your father said, don't ever step over our threshold again. So now, I have nowhere to go. Tom collapsed, and I left the cafe. Later, I heard he caused trouble at the police station. Despite my advice, he went back to the apartment and sat there aimlessly until the manager called the police, and he was taken away. I'm not sure if it was for obstructing public duties, trespassing, or for the falsified divorce papers. Eventually, his parents took responsibility for him. After speaking with me and learning about Emily, they decided to prioritize apologizing and paying damages to Emily's family. They went to Emily's house and apologized, kneeling in front of her family. They settled everything without pressing charges for marriage fraud, even paying for the wedding expenses. I had expected them to sue, so I was disappointed they didn't. So, I decided to pursue legal action against Tom for forging the divorce papers. Tom offered a settlement, but I didn't withdraw the lawsuit. I didn't want him to think everything could be solved with money. I wanted him convicted and to understand the severity of his actions. Even if it took time and money, I left everything to my lawyer, so it wasn't too burdensome for me. Over time, Tom was exposed for his actions and marriage fraud at his company. He couldn't stay there anymore. After being detained by the police and absent without leave, he was eventually fired. He ended up living with his parents, working all day at a relative's construction company. His father took all his earnings, leaving him with no money. I thought his parents wouldn't abandon him, but they were stricter than I imagined. They paid my reparation and Emily's compensation, planning to make him work tirelessly until he repaid everything. He lived in a shed-like place with no electricity, receiving only $5 a day for food, which was deducted from his salary. They planned to kick him out once he repaid everything. A harsh fate indeed. After years of hard work, I was offered a position at the head office abroad, so I moved overseas after the divorce was finalized. I worried Tom might come to me for help or harbor resentment, but moving abroad eased those concerns. I thought work would be my companion for a while, but soon I found a new relationship. I'm now dating a foreign executive at our head office, and I'm pregnant, with plans to marry soon. I told him everything about my past and my ex-husband, and he's very understanding. I'll take maternity leave and plan to return to work later, supported by him. He's excited to take paternity leave and co-parent, showing a different cultural perspective. After being tormented by my ex-husband, I finally feel that I'm grasping true happiness and confidence in building the family I always dreamed of. Many people suffer because of selfish spouses, and while divorce isn't always the best solution, enduring silence isn't a virtue. Honest discussions can lead to resolutions, and sometimes, divorce is the necessary option.